Hey everybody, we are, it's Saturday the 11th, 82 degrees, about 100 in the greenhouse. We got the sides open and they're talking, I think tomorrow night's low is 28. Big weather change coming. Chances of rain tonight and then snow tomorrow night or something crazy like that. Anyway, some people had asked about the chicken house, and we're always talking about growing your own food. And so this is one of the things we've done for a number of years, and just wanted to show you kind of what we do with the chicken house. We've got 13 chickens. We get about 9 eggs a day on average. In the wintertime, when the days are shorter, they'll slow down a little, so we'll get 6 or 7 eggs. And I started this recording and the wind changed right when I did it. And I have a wind filter coming for that camera, but I don't have it. So anyway, that's crazy. That wind started up. Anyway, this is what we do. And the chicken house is actually just a storage building that I divided a number of years ago, and then we've done other things to it. It's not hooked up to electricity or anything, so it's got a couple solar panels and a wind charger on top. You've probably seen the wind charger in some other videos bent over. That storm that took out my other greenhouse did that damage as well. We fixed it today, and anyway, it has lights and things out here, run off battery, and the solar panels and the wind charger keeps the batteries topped up. But we divided it because I wanted a tool shed, a storage shed back here, and then Lynn goes in every day, and she doesn't have to go in where the chickens are all the time. You can go into the divided part and get to the egg or the laying, the roosts from the backside. You don't have to go in where the chickens are, so that's kind of nice, especially on a Sunday morning or something. Like if you have to go gather eggs right quick, you don't get stuff all over you doing that. So we're just going to take a quick look at what's here, and I will let Lynn tell you what she does.
Hey, hi. This is where the chickens come in. We have their water here that we have to check and make sure it doesn't want to run dry, but it's out so it doesn't get dirty. And then over here in the corner, normally they lay eggs in the corner. Don't know why.
And we're in where the chickens are.
This is where the chickens sleep.
Feeder and their
and
roosts.
This is where they lay their eggs. And they normally lay some in a corner.
And those boards over there across the far side, they like to get over there on those and roost at night and sleep there.
And this is where we keep their feed.
So we're backing out of where the chickens are, and we're going into the tool shed where the roosts are. And you can have a little tiny storage shed and build your roosting cabinets outside where you get to them from the outside. And we just gathered eggs, yesterday afternoon or last night late, so there may not be too many, but you can see that it's super easy to come in here and gather up eggs right quick without fighting the chickens or them messing with you. And their feed and roosting materials in here, and so there's occasional mouse in here. Ruger likes to get in here and hunt while we're looking for eggs.
Today.
So there's 8 eggs, and we gathered 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
So that's,
Right. But I'm sure there'll be some more like this evening.
Yeah, there'd be 9 or 10 if we would have waited a full 24 hours. But this is the wind charger, solar charger, controller, inverter, and timer and batteries. But this sits here, and you can run lights out here, put them on a timer, whatever you need to do. And then coming outside, on our farm, we don't let our chickens free range. Dun dun dun, I know. If you're ever around here of an evening sitting on the porch, you can hear the owls in the trees, and that's not cool. If the chickens are out, the owls like to come over here and but you can see they have a pretty good sized pen, fully enclosed, has chicken wire on the roof and all the way to the ground. We've got boards and stuff around the bottom, and then there's a hot fence around the bottom for skunks or dogs or any other kind of critter that would try to get in there or dig, or even our dog Ruger has occasionally tried it. So just wanted to show you that, show you the chicken house, kind of how it works. And we throw greens to them all the time, mower clippings. They get some corn and scratch every day, and then they have their pellets inside. If we're feeding them out here pretty good, they don't hit the pellets very hard at all. And all of our table scraps go to them. Salad that's gone bad in the house,
Spaghetti.
veggies, spaghetti. They like about anything you bring them, and they really get along pretty good. They're really low maintenance, and 9 eggs a day out of 13 chickens, 10 eggs a day. We typically give a dozen eggs away a week, or 2 dozen a week. And there's one chicken, you can see her in there, she's missing some feathers. What's her name?
Clara.
And why is Clara missing feathers?
I normally say snitches get stitches.
Hang on, let me get this camera to do
I normally say snitches get stitches, but she's like the mother hen, and she tries to tell them what to do, and so they're fighting back. They've had enough, no more.
So anyway, Claire's she's not very nice. We'll just say that. And so they peck her feathers. And if I had a way to separate her, I would let her get recovered. I think if she'd ever get all of her feathers back, they might leave her alone. Or she might just be Claire and still get picked on all the time. But anyway, we have the door over there. I don't know if you can see that in the frame. But Lynn can come out, throw some grain to them. I've got the door on a rope and a pulley. So they'll all come out, eat the grain, and she can let the door down and then go inside, water, add pellets, do whatever she needs to do without worrying about chicken escaping. And then when we're done, she opens the door back up. And so it takes about, 10 minutes a day?
Yeah.
And then about once a month, we go in and sweep up all the chippings, those cedar chips and pine chips inside, and give them fresh bedding and clean everything up. All that goes in the compost and on the garden. Scraps from the table go to the chickens. So we recycle stuff 2 or 3 times when it comes to some of that stuff. But anyway, that's what we do for chickens. You can do something much smaller scale in town. I'm told you can have, I think, 4 or 6 chickens in at least an alva. No rooster. And you can have eggs. And you don't have to have a rooster to have eggs. You just have to have a rooster if you want fertile eggs. So there's that. I think I answered most of the questions on chickens, but if you have some, inbox us, throw it in the comments. Like and subscribe what we're doing. It's hot today. It's supposed to be cold tomorrow. We're gonna move everything flower-wise back in the greenhouse for the last time, we hope, right?
Right, hopefully.
And we'll see what happens. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Hey friends, God put on my heart this evening to share a quick word about the weekend that this is, Easter, the celebration of the resurrection of Christ. And we looked at a video just now of the chickens, and Easter's not about eggs or rabbits or peeps or little live chickens they've dunked in colored dye or any of the other crap that goes on. It's about celebrating the resurrection of Christ. And when Christ died and was laid to rest, he took a very painful death. And he had a cross of thorns shoved on his head. He was whipped and had his flesh ripped open. It was a gruesome, gory thing, and then carried his own cross a long ways, only to be nailed on it and hang there and die a crucifixion type death. And in studying what I was going to say to you tonight, I ran across a lot of scripture out there, or not scripture, oh gosh, I ran across a lot of commentary out there from some pretty big names, I guess you would say, in the devotional Bible study world, um, talking about Isaiah 53:5. And I have always believed and will always believe that Christ took that death. He took that for our spiritual and physical healing. And I read a lot of stuff um, tonight of some people that are just uh, largely deceived. I called my pastor and I'm like, hey, so and so said this, and they said this, and they said this, and I've always believed 53:5. And he said, you're right, you should believe 53:5, and here's why. And so I'm going to share a couple things with you in a minute. But there's just a lot of folks out there that aren't, they don't believe in physical healing, and that Christ died that death for our spiritual, our salvation, and our physical healing. And so Isaiah 53:5 says, but he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. It didn't say we're going to be healed. We'll be healed when we fly up to heaven. It says we are healed. And I think that's important to know that and we need to say it, we are healed. Um, Isaiah wrote that 800 years before Christ was put on the cross. He was a prophet, and he talked about everything that was going to happen in detail, and it did. And then later, Jesus and the disciples are out in Matthew 8:16, and they're healing lepers and different people, blind people. When the evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon possessed, and he cast out spirits with a word and healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, he himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses. So here's Christ out healing the sick in the name and quoting what Isaiah had previously said and using that same passage. So don't tell me that that verse is only about spiritual healing. There's another argument out there too, and it's not worth throwing it out there, but to me, if you're spiritually sick, you're probably physically sick as well. I think the two go hand in hand. So even if some of these guys are saying, well, the verb in the Greek really was, if we analyze this, okay, whatever. But I know what I'm seeing here in Matthew about Christ himself using that passage when he's healing people. So don't tell me it's not for our physical healing. And I'm saying all this to say, I've talked and had several devos lately about fear and anxiety, specifically over this COVID deal. How can you believe Isaiah 53:5 that Christ took a beating for our healing? We are healed, like today are. How can you believe that verse? And there's proof of Jesus using that same verse when he's out healing people. How can you, if you take Isaiah 53:5 and Matthew 8:16 and how can you take those verses, if you believe those, and have so much fear and anxiety over COVID-19? Is it serious? Yes. Is it a virus? Yes. Are people going to die? It's looking that way. Yes. However, the fear and anxiety that's being spun out of control by media, our government, all the stuff that's going on, shut your TVs off, okay? Because Christ's got this. He took a beating for our healing. We're celebrating this whole thing this weekend. Tomorrow's Easter. And yet we're having anxiety and fear and everything over a virus that he says we are healed from. I hope that helps somebody. I'm throwing that out there tonight. And I just want to encourage everyone to dig into the Word, find this stuff out for yourself. But you need to know that our health, our well-being, both spiritual and physical, is been taken care of, and we need to press into that and believe that and exercise our faith towards that in these days and the days ahead, and live a healed and whole life.